Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Hey, welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. Always excited to have you on here. And I'm always excited, too, to have somebody who comes on who's so passionate about helping you achieve your goals and dreams. And sometimes I know I rely a little heavily, maybe a little heavy-handed on the investing side of things, of buying distressed real estate, buying notes and going from there. But I also know that many of you out there are struggling to get other things paid off. So we're going to flip it from instead of being the debt buyer side, how we can reduce that debt today. We've got amazing life and money coach Germaine Foley join us here on the podcast. And she's out of Michigan. We met her at FinCon. We hit it off, and I've been excited to get her on here. And so you're going to want to take some notes and definitely listen to this podcast. Germaine, what is going on, girl? It's so good to see you today.
So good to see you, Scott. And again, how much I love that voice.
Well, I am available for bar mitzvahs, birthdays, and podcast introductions anytime.
Yes.
So, I love your kind of your backstory, and I'll get to that in a second. But you've got a passion. You've also got a podcast out there with over 100 plus episodes. We want to make sure and talk about that a little bit. But where do you see the biggest, I guess you could say, the biggest hurdle people are facing before we get in your origin story
Yeah.
that it literally drives you kind of batty in today's world?
Oh my gosh. So, my pet peeve when it comes to money and wealth building is to hear all of the personal finance gurus talk about what you can't do, what you need to stop doing. It drives me nuts telling me that I can't have a latte or I should stop buying so many shoes as if that's the reason why I'm not a millionaire. And so
Right.
I am very, very passionate about what I call the do both method. I believe that you can build wealth and enjoy life at the same time. And I'm here to just shout it from the rooftops because I think that's why so many people just avoid their money altogether because they can't fathom waiting until they're retired to actually live and enjoy life. And I help them to see that that's all a myth and they can actually build wealth and enjoy life at the same time.
Well, it's no good being unhappy and being miserable and not being able to live your life. I mean, mama needs a new pair of shoes from time to time.
I
You know what I
mean,
mean? Just got to
yes.
put the shoes on and feel good about it. But that's, yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, nobody's, the well, maybe the $5 latte at Starbucks now
Mm-hmm,
never really
mm-hmm.
stopped anything because God knows you need to be productive in the mornings, you know.
Exactly.
But you're
Exactly.
so true about, oh, you can't do this, you need to do that. I think it stems from Uncle Dave Ramsey being so grouchy these days. I think part of it goes. What do you think about that?
Okay, so Uncle Dave, I actually credit him for getting me to start thinking about my money differently. But I knew from day one that I couldn't do it the way he said to do it. But I think he gets a lot of people going. But the problem is, a lot of those people burn out and they can't continue because the lifestyle is just so restrictive and unsustainable.
I totally agree. I mean, let's pull out envelopes and start shoving stuff in there. Nobody has cash these days. I'm like, come on, man.
No.
I can understand transfer different accounts, but before we dive into more of that, let's share. Why should our listen? You're a baddie. Let's just that way. All right. Why are you such an expert at this? And then let's talk about the motivation side of things. So I agree, Dave's got some good stuff to start off with,
Yes.
but I don't long term it's sustainable.
Yeah. So my story is my husband and I, we found ourselves in over $2,000 worth of just a couple years after being married. And we were making good money. We kept telling ourselves, we'll figure it out. We may number one, and then okay, but we got baby number two. Daycare bill that was the exact same amount as our mortgage. And then that's when things started to just get really stressful and it was thing changed. And when I got into Ramsey and books, really like this. And I had a conversation with my husband. Long story, he's like, I mean, we definitely need to change, but we can't live like that. And it was like a light bulb went off when I was just like, well, why do we have to do it that way? Who says you can't pay off debt and still take a vacation?
Right.
Who said you can't go on a date? All of that on its head and said, I'm going to figure out how to do both, how to build wealth and enjoy life. And we've paid it all off. All of our student loans, we are forgiven in 2015. We paid off all of our consumer debt. And now we have a multiple six-figure net worth that's inching towards 1 million. We're over the halfway mark. I think we're at about 750 now. So we're just moving on along. And while we're doing this, we're putting a kid through college right now. So that is why you should listen to me.
I totally agree. Now, if you don't mind me asking, where did you go to school at? Because you said you had student loan debt, so I was, where did
Yes.
you go to school?
So my husband went to Michigan State. I went to Northwood University, which is a private school up in Michigan, up kind of up north. That's where I
Okay,
went.
there we go.
Yes.
There we
Yes.
go. And then, what did you study and what did he study?
So I studied business management and he is an educator. So he studied education. He was a teacher for a while, then an assistant principal, then a principal. Now he's like an assistant superintendent somewhere. So,
Okay, very nice, very nice, very good. Yeah, I got a business degree from Texas State, Southwest Texas, not a private school, but it's a, larger school in Texas here beyond Texas, stuff like that. And so, yeah, you have student debt, stuff like that.
yeah.
Where did you see, speaking of getting that stuff paid off, and then starting to invest stuff like that. I always say Jesus saves, everybody else has got to invest. You know what I mean? Um,
I
where did
like
you
it.
start seeing impact, or what were some of the changes you make? I mean, don't get me wrong, I totally agree. You got to have the date night, you got to have the vacation.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't love cheap thrills? But still, sometimes you got to have some. I don't want to stay in the Motel 6 for the
Right.
weekend getaway. I want to stay
Right.
somewhere that's decent. So let's talk about what are some of the habits that you put in place to help you start making an
Yeah.
impact.
So what we found was that we just had no discipline at all. We would just buy whatever we want when we want it. And so I had to just really get clear on what was most important to us in the season of life that we were in. And that evolves as you get older, as your family grows. But back then, we decided that first of all, like we were spending way too much on like dinners out, and but at this time we had like a 4 year old and a 2 year old. It's not even fun going to dinner with them, and we were spending a ton of money just going out to dinner. We um we're just we're just weren't paying attention, and so we had to
Mhm.
get clear. So for us, we are like, okay, once a week we'll go to breakfast after church. Like that was our thing, and we didn't eat out anymore during the week. That saved us a ton of money.
Right.
We decided that we wanted to take at least one family vacation every year, and we decided that we did want our kids to be able to participate in some extracurricular activities, the little soccer leagues and all that. So otherwise, at that point, I was like, I have enough clothes, I have enough shoes for now, at least. Let's just go crazy and, put anything extra other than those things on our debt. And that's what we did. And every year we reevaluated. So I didn't stop shopping forever, but maybe a few months because I didn't need anything at that point. So just one of the things I teach is like you got to know what's important to you, and everything can't be important to you, right? So you got to figure that out, and we did, and we're still doing that to this day because, like I said, you change, seasons change, and things become less important and more important.
It's so true. As kids grow and your life changes, evolve, you're definitely going to have different priorities. But I love what you said about prioritizing things of what you want to do, and then making, yeah, dining in will save you a ton of money,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
versus dining out. You're not really enjoying the dining out with a 2 year old or 4 year old. That was always the messiest tables, the kids throwing biscuits everywhere. And it's stressful too, because like, oh, we don't want, I'm sure you've got great kids. I'm sure you've got great, well-behaved kids who are just absolutely angels at the table, never crying or anything like that. But where did you, when you look at your debt, obviously student loans was one of them, but then also you mentioned earlier a bit about credit cards. Did you
Yes.
put any sort of like debt stacking program into place to pay off smaller ones, to apply that debt? how did you kind of help prioritize what you got paid first to get paid off?
Yes, so we had credit cards, personal loans, we had a car payment. And so yeah, we did use the debt snowball for everything. And then once we got to the student loans, because that was the biggest one, the kind of the I guess the cool thing was they were like a ton of little student loans that added up. And so we even prioritized those when it was time to get to them. And that just gave us a lot of momentum. It kept us motivated. But here's the thing, I think people just need to decide which way is going to motivate them. Some people want to do the debt avalanche where they pay off the highest interest first. Some people want to do the debt snowball. Other people want to do other things. So I have like an array of ways that people could do it. But yeah, I chose the debt snowball.
Well, but it's also too working with people what they have. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
the snowball works well if they're paying extra, but they're barely getting by, barely getting by. Like we see a lot of folks, it's hard to figure out where's that extra going to come from to make any type of impact, right?
And that's where, you really just got to get real clear on optimizing your
Yeah.
expenses. Like, I feel like depending on the people who I work with, typically they don't have an income problem, they have a spending
Right.
problem more than anything. And so it's either side of the equation. If you don't have enough income coming in, that's where we need to focus first. And if you have enough income, you make good money, but it's all going out, then we need to look at the other side of the equation.
Where is it burning a hole in your pocket? Either coming in or
Yes.
going out. A lot of cases.
Yes.
Now, what do you suggest for folks out there? Like you mentioned, I don't have any little ones that I know of. You know what I mean? But what do you talk to folks? Because there's always that talk about how expensive childcare is, and that often
Mhm.
offsets what one spouse is actually making. If they were to go, I mean, if they were still working to pay for second car insurance and then the cost for stuff versus staying home to raise, whether it's the man or the woman staying home to raise. I'm not saying putting on one aspect of one specific issue because I got some stay-at-home dads
Yeah.
that do a better job, enjoy that better, and the wife is the breadwinner. What's your thoughts on helping people evaluate that to cover that cost?
Yeah, I think it's a personal decision because I've seen women who are breadwinners decide to stay home, right? Because they just want that experience of being a stay at home parent. And then others are like, I can't even imagine staying home, even if they make less and they have to figure out how to make it make sense. So I think it's a personal decision. And that's kind of one that I wouldn't impose my judgments on. It would just be
Mhm.
something that, I would help people evaluate to see, okay, what's important to you? What do you really want? And then, really help them evaluate from there.
Yeah, everybody's different. There's no one
Yep.
size fits all when it comes to that for sure, especially depending on where they live and what else is going on as far as
Hmm.
housing and cost, stuff like that. Now, you mentioned you paid down the debt. Did you wait to start kind of investing and building your nest
No,
egg until you got to the end, or you said,
no.
no, we got to do this at the beginning?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll tell you a story. So remember how I said at first I did, Dave Ramsey. I read the book and I was just like, okay, we're gonna do, at least most of what he said, but I have to still buy lattes and go to restaurants. And then I said, well, maybe he's on to something when it comes to stopping all your contributions and just putting all that extra money towards debt. So I did that for 1 year. I was like, let me just experiment with it. Oh my gosh, our tax bill was huge. All because, I mean, we ended up paying the money, but we just paid it to the government. So no, from that point on, we kept investing and that fixed the problem. And now I'm so glad that I experienced that and was able to actually make an informed decision for myself because we wouldn't be where we are today if we would have waited because it took us a while to pay off all that debt.
Hmm.
And compounding interest, the thing about it is you need that time, right? The time in the market is so important. And so I strongly, strongly encourage people, even if you have debt, to be in the market, especially if you have an employer who's matching your contributions. I mean, there's just no way you want to leave that money on the table.
Yeah, I don't get it. I see people bash 401ks all the time, and I'm like, okay, first of all, it's a nice tax deduction that
Mm-hmm.
helps you out there. It's tax deferred. Plus the matching. You can't match. I mean, nothing out there matches infinite rate of return.
Mm-hmm.
Dollar for dollar matching up to 3% or whatever it is. And I get starting other things, but yeah, I mean, there's some fees involved with it, but it's still if you're not doing anything, it's that whole forced investment side of things, forced savings to get it out of your pocket, so you're not spending it on the next Starbucks with Jimmy Choo's. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And then if you think about it, okay, fine. If you think that there are too many fees, then at least invest up to the match and then go invest the rest somewhere else so that you can take advantage of that. Because I mean, dollar for dollar, you just can't beat it.
Right. Are you doing any other investing outside of the 401k? What's your kind of, or what
Yes.
have you done? Obviously, you have outside that, but
Yes.
what's been your kind of top two or three niches that you're investing in?
I just love good old index funds. Like I'm simple. I don't want to play around. I did try a couple things and I'm like, no, this is not for me. Let me just continue with my good old index fund. And it's been working
What were
out very
those
well for
things
me.
you tried that you didn't like?
You know, one of my I it was a friend of mine who I really trust. She was doing something with crypto and
Okay.
I tried it and I was just like, yeah, no, this isn't for me. So, mm-mm. I
Yeah,
just didn't understand it enough. I need to be able to understand what I'm doing so that I can feel like I have at least some control, a little bit of control, not just, blindly following. So,
well, I think that's always the number one thing is only invest in something you understand.
mhm.
That's
Mhm.
where so many people get wrong.
Yeah.
The crypto boys, the NFTs, all this
Mhm.
stuff has been out there. Don't get me wrong. There's folks that are in, Bitcoin and stuff like that, that are obviously doing very well. But they've obviously had some scarce just in the last week alone where the market fell out on a
Mhm.
lot of cases,
Yeah.
and that's why, yeah, I totally agree. If you're looking to invest in something that's understandable, it's pretty easy to figure out. Index funds are the number one spot for you there where you're not doing any work to get that, and they average a good yield. And if you
Mhm.
leverage the rule of 72 to it, you're going to be doubling and contributing and taking advantage of the opportunities in that for
Mm,
sure.
yeah, for sure.
Now, where as obviously as your kids have grown, or
Mhm.
one of them is you said going to college, um, did you start putting money away for their education? You're like, no, boy, hey, you can get your student loans yourself and pay. We're gonna pay. We can take care of our retirement first. You take care of your education.
Yeah, okay, so one of the biggest things for us was we had a lot of student loan debt. And I'm like, oh my gosh, where would I be if that wasn't the case? If my parents would have saved, if my husband's parents would have saved for us. And I do have some friends who had no student loans because their parents, they saved for them. And so that is one of my goals. So we put money away in a 529 plan for both of them and a nice amount, but not enough to just completely cover it. So we are helping the oldest one with college. He'll be done. He's a junior, so he's got one more
Nice.
year. And then my youngest is starting college, so I'll have two in college at the same time. But his money is all ready for him, so we won't have two bills at the same time. So we'll end up helping him out too as he goes along as well.
Sure, of course. That's good. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Congratulations. That's
Thank
exciting.
you.
What are you
Thank
gonna do?
you.
You're gonna turn the house into a party?
Oh
Yay!
man. I don't think I'm gonna party really hard until it's all over, until they're out of college, and I'm gonna just, I don't. That's when the party's gonna happen.
Exactly. Well, amen. Right. Hey, you're done and graduated.
Yes.
Let's definitely part of that. So let's talk about how you're helping folks out there. I mean, I know
Mhm.
you've got an amazing story paying off the debt and then investing to save it with your spouse, your husband, and then taking care of two kids and growing two kids in college. That's always a difficult aspect of things. But you're really got a passion for helping people struggling as well. What's kind of your niche and focus when it comes to that?
Yeah, so people who were just like I was. So typically I work with women who are making good money. I'm talking like six figures, close to it, or multiple six figures, but they're not building wealth.
Mhm.
And they are like, oh my gosh, I have so many areas of my life that are going well, but money is just the one thing I can't figure out. And a lot of times they find themselves stuck in the credit card debt cycle where they pay it off only to run it back up again. A lot of overspending due to like emotional spending and impulse spending. They feel like they should be further along based on how much money they make, right? So they have some investments more than likely. They probably have some saved, but they just feel like, oh my gosh, I should be way further ahead than where I am now. That's exactly who I help because I know exactly what it's like.
So But love it, love it, love it. Love it. A
Hmm.
good chunk of our audience is it fits that bill very much so. So let's talk about that. So you're sitting down with people, your life and money coach. And
Yes.
I think I love that aspect because the two are very intertwined. You can't just be a money coach if you don't know what's going on in the melon up here, right,
Yes.
Jermaine?
Hmm.
And so, how much? And well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine the first part is just kind of getting through what's going on, the chaos, what's their bad spending habits, or maybe money myths that they're false on. You know?
Oh, 100%. And for my clients, it typically is overspending. I was just talking to one recently and just trying to get to like what's going on. Like what's the reason? And she's just like, it's the one thing. I take care of the kids, I take care of my husband, I work full time, and shopping is like the one thing that I do just for me. And like there's nothing wrong with shopping, but for her it's like she's racking up 10K and 20K in debt, where and then when she gets a bonus she uses her bonus to pay it off, but usually it's not enough to pay it all off. And then recently she even took out a 401k loan. And
Oh,
yes, and
ouch!
then she racked it back up again. So now she has the 401k loan, the debt has come back, and then she did a 0% interest transfer on another card. It just it's like a cycle that you just can't break free from. And so all the strategies, it's not like she doesn't know how to pay off debt. It is the staying out of debt that is the key. And that's where the life coaching comes in. That's when the psychology, because anybody can pay off debt, but staying out is different.
How much do you see families hiding stuff from, or one spouse hiding it from the other spouse? Do you ever see
Often,
that
often,
often?
yes, yes, for sure. Some of my people are not married, so there's no one to
Sure.
hide it from. And then others, it's like they have the his, hers, and ours money, so he really doesn't know exactly what's going on because she has her own money as well as the household is shared money. So I don't see a ton of that, but it totally is there. I actually have a friend who runs home. She's tracking all the packages. She runs home before her husband gets home and grab them. But she's not my client, but she's a friend. She should be my client, but she's not.
So she races for Amazon,
Yes, she
basically.
tracks every purchase and she makes sure she runs home before he gets home. Yeah.
We've got some family friends who are in the process of selling their house and moving somewhere, and the husband literally is pulling his hair out because the whole garage is just full of Amazon packages, and
Mm-hmm.
half of them have never been opened. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And
Yeah.
that happens both men and women. No, we're not,
Oh yeah, a hundred
it,
percent, a hundred
yeah.
percent. And this client I was just talking to you about, she says I will get all these packages delivered to the house, and I don't even have the energy to open the boxes, and I don't even remember what it was. That dopamine rush that I had has faded, and I could care less about the stuff now. So,
Time
yeah,
to turn around and sell on marketplace.
or just return it, like get your money back.
There you go. There you go. I love that. I love what you're talking about. This is, yeah, racing home to beat the Amazon guy, or the Uber guy dropping off the other stuff there for you there. With your training, you got a free class you talk about too, how to build wealth without going on a strict budget. Talk a little about that class, and we'll put the link to this for everybody because it's an opportunity for you guys to take a free class and learn about this. But talk about that free class a little bit, Jermaine, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, yeah, it's the audio class. So it's like a 5-part audio series that you can binge, and I just really walk you through the do both method, and I talk about why I think the reason why so many women are high earners yet they're not building wealth. And I think it goes back to our point at the very beginning, because we're told that either you build wealth and be frugal, or you spend everything you make. It's like there's no balance. And people think that if I'm going to build wealth, if I'm going to save, if I'm going to invest, that means I'm going to have to cut back everything that I love. And I don't want to do that. I have time. And so they avoid and they push things off. And so I just want people to know that you don't have to do that anymore. Fidelity Investments did a money mindset study, and they found that 76% of the people surveyed think that in order to build wealth, they have to cut back. And then on the flip side, they said that they want to build wealth, but they don't want to give up their lifestyle. So it's just like there's this conundrum. And I think if we could break free from that mindset, it'll change everything for everyone. Where if you can figure out the balance, like I can build wealth and I can still enjoy my life, then what's your excuse now? There is none. So people really get moving when they know that they can do that.
Yeah, I totally agree to that. We live in such a instant gratification society
Mm-hmm.
of keeping up with the Joneses
Yes.
to we buy shit that we don't know, and ultimately that shit ends up owning us in a lot of cases too. And it feels like a mountain that we have to get out of, whether it's the credit card debts or bad habits. And I think you have to realize is that little bit of shame that comes with it. I mean, or for some folks, a lot of shame. A lot of it's just up here when your family or friends or Germaine wants to help you get that stuff paid off and invest in the right way, right?
Exactly. And just know that you are not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. So many people are dealing with this. And if you're feeling a little bit embarrassed or shame, just know that those two emotions, they make you want to hide and not tell anybody, not get any help. But like having someone like myself, it's a safe space to talk about that where you can't share with anybody else. You feel like you can't share with anyone else. And it could be so therapeutic and life changing just to get it off your chest. Like, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. And then like, okay, how can we solve it now? And
That's right.
knowing that you don't have
You
to
got
be
to know
perfect.
exactly where you're at to start the plan. If you don't
Exactly.
know and don't disclose, it's hard for you or anybody out there to help them really kind of identify the opportunities and build a successful plan to success to debt free or reduce debt and more investing, right?
Exactly, exactly. And when it comes to money, I feel like there's like five core areas that we all need to master. It's income, spending, debt, savings, and investing. And if either one of those are like out of whack, then there's work to be done.
What are those 5 points again for those that didn't catch it the first time around?
Yes, income,
Mhm.
spending, debt, saving, and investing. I know you think
Now,
only Jesus saves, but you got to have some money in the bank, okay? And
yeah,
a high yield savings account.
yeah, gotta put it in the bank. Exactly. Now, as we roll into the fourth quarter and the most stressful time of year
Yeah.
for most folks with Christmas coming up and the New Year and stuff like that, Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate, what are some things that people could maybe do different so they don't end up with the extra uh, bit of the month at the end of the paycheck for the holidays?
Yes. Okay, so for Christmas, it is right around the corner. I'm going to sound like the Christmas song, make a list and check it twice, okay? And make give yourself an amount of money. If you haven't planned all year, let me back up. If you were one of my clients, you would probably have a Christmas fund and you'll be all set. If you start in January, decide, okay, how much do I want to spend on Christmas and divide that by however many pay periods or checks or months, or however, put that in your high yield savings account. And then when Christmas comes, you're good to go. But because this is very close to Christmas, we haven't had time to do that. Now just give yourself an amount that you want to spend. Like just give yourself an amount and then stick with that amount. That's your boundary. And do your very, very best to stick to it. And you are going to be so happy you did when January 1st rolls around. You're going to be so happy.
Hmm. My family and I, we've basically gotten away from giving gifts for the most part. Yeah, don't get me wrong, socks,
Yeah.
all matching pajamas are not bad, stuff like that. But I go buy myself what I want anyway for the
Huh.
most part. But what we found is we actually kind of went back on the technology side. Instead of actually like new phones, we actually went and got photos printed up, you know,
Ooh.
picture frames, which is pretty relatively cheap, but people love that memory.
Yeah.
And we're so used to this these days for photos, we don't usually print up a lot of stuff. That or um we started making homemade stuff like, cobblers or jam. My mom was always made homemade candy for years. And that can still be a little bit of an expense, but not near as like trying to buy something new for everybody on the wish list. So,
Yeah.
I end up having to make 44 cobblers for my neighbors
Oh,
this
wow.
year. But it was pretty cheap when you figure you're buying in bulk.
Yeah. And when you think about Christmas, like your most fond memories are never like I can't even remember what I got my kids last year or what they got me. But I do remember dinner and Christmas Eve. I remember the pajamas we wore and the movies
Hmm.
we watched, right? The togetherness. So keep that in mind. Like, really, what you're looking for is the feeling, the Christmas feeling. And you can get that without spending a lot of money.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Now, what is the best way for folks, our listenership, to connect with you, to reach out to you, to have you help them get out of the rut that they're in?
Yeah, so that free training that I told you about is a great place to start. It's called How to Build Wealth Without Going on a Strict Budget. And you can get that at germainefoley.com/wealth class. And that's Germaine with a G. And then I also have a podcast. It's called Becoming the Wealthy You. And if you like podcasts, you might as well listen to that one too.
Yeah, now that's the great thing too. This is not somebody who has a podcast with 5 episodes. You've got over 100 podcast episodes, Jermaine. So you
I do.
really go into a lot of these mindset things, and you've got just great content on there. I love your show.
Yes, I try to do a lot of mindset and strategy. So you're going to get both because, I mean, let's just be honest. You can find all the strategies on YouTube and Google and TikTok, but the mindset piece is what's missing from most financial advice.
Exactly. We'll make sure to put the link in the show notes for the podcast as well for you. So you make sure you guys and gals go over and listen to her show as well. Such great stuff there. And I think that's one of the biggest things is it is as we get, Halloween's just a few weeks away. Then we got Thanksgiving and then Christmas, literally 2 months, just over 2 months away from Christmas now. It's hard to believe that. And it's a great time of year. It's my favorite time of the year, but it's also a very stressful time of the year. And it's where a lot of folks go against their New Year's resolutions. And so if
Yeah.
your resolution for 2026 is to start paying off debt and do that, start now. Take the advice, take Jermaine's free class there, start putting those things in place and making those big decisions, and you'll feel a whole lot better about entering the new year on a new path, right, Jermaine?
Oh, yeah. And I say, like, let's end the year with momentum. And that's going to be way better than waiting until January 1st. Most people are going to wait to January 1st to get started, but you're already going to be off to the races. So, yeah, getting started now, ending the year strong is going to set you up for sure.
Yeah, I mean, simple things like reviewing what you've got going into your 401k.
Hmm.
Those are things, simple to do. Put together a Christmas budget or cut back on what you're going to spend on folks. Nobody needs that ugly ass Christmas sweater anyway. You can recycle the one from last year.
Not at all. Not at all. And see how you can get creative, this year. If you decide on the amount you want to spend and it's just not the math isn't mathing,
Yeah.
get creative. See what you can do that doesn't cost a lot of money. Maybe you can host somebody, some friends over for a breakfast at your home and that's their Christmas gift. Like you can get creative with this.
I like it. Who doesn't like breakfast for lunch? You know what I mean? Or brunch and stuff like it's a whole lot cheaper doing it in house versus going to a steakhouse or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Mimosas take just as it actually tastes better when it's your own champagne, you
Yes.
know.
100%.
Now, with your kids being older in college, have you taught your two kids also some of these money habits, how to start putting money away and doing things? I know they're probably more worried about what's going on in college and classes take, but have you started to instill some of those habits to them?
Yes. So my oldest actually, he's a little influencer. He has this really big Instagram following. I think he's got like 170,000
Wow.
followers. He's a fitness person. He's all about fitness and health. And so he's making money from that. He's got some ebooks that he sells and he's very much into like entrepreneurship, even though I told him you can do that and have your degree. You can do both. You don't have to choose. And so he's definitely doing well, and he's very interested in the S&P 500. And then I've got my youngest, who's also very interested as well. He's my spender, but I think I've helped him to become a lot more balanced in his approach with money. So
Well, that's good. That's got to make you smile, though, as a mother of
yes,
your kids. When you're raising
for
good
sure.
kids, that says a lot about you. So, congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. So, guys, that is going to wrap it up for this episode. Jermaine, thank you so much for coming on here today, sharing your insight to the do both. Ladies and gentlemen, don't feel bad about where you're at. You know what? We've all made mistakes. Credit card is one of those things, or debt is one thing that America is founded on. You don't have to let it rule. Be embarrassed. Be stressed about where you're at. Give Jermaine a phone call. Reach out to her, somebody to help understand what you can do differently because it's just a few tweaks, a few adjustments here and be on a better path in the new year. So take advantage of it. Go take some action. Call Germaine, listen to her podcast, take her class, and we'll see you at the top, everybody. Thanks, Germaine.
You're welcome. Thank you, Scott.
Hey, real estate investors, this is Scott Carson. I'm known across the country as a note guy. For the past 20 years, I've been buying distressed assets, primarily non-performing notes on residential and commercial properties. And if you've ever wanted to learn how to dive in to start buying non-performing notes from banks, hedge funds, or other investors like yourself, then there's no greater place than to get the nuts and bolts, the A to Z, the 1 through 99 place to get started. It is our virtual note buying workshop. We've been teaching this class since 2010 on how to find, fund, flip non-performing notes, how to get banks to call you with deals that you can cherry pick. And no, you don't need millions. No, you don't need a lot of experience to start looking at non-performing notes. We get the lists of notes from banks, hedge funds on a regular basis, not one or two or three or four, but hundreds of deals that we can evaluate and cherry pick. Whether we're looking for performing notes or non-performing notes that we can get reperforming, or non-performing notes you can foreclose and take back, whatever your niche or whatever you would like to focus on, we can help make it happen at the virtual note buying workshop. It's a 3-day class. Our next one is April 18th to the 20th. It's actually online live via Zoom. You get signed up by going to notebuyingfordummies.com. That's notebuyingfordummies.com. Day one is all about how to find these assets. How do you find asset managers? How do you find lists of people to reach out to that you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on postcards or letters that you waste money on? We don't do that. Day two is all about raising capital and marketing and how to create a business that feeds itself, that you can do part-time, 10 hours a week, 5 hours a week, depending on what your focus is. We'll show you a game plan to achieve deal flow coming in on autopilot versus you having to send a ton of money. And also, we'll show you how to raise capital like nobody else does. And then day three is all about the flip. How do we structure deals? How do we evaluate a tape to find the deals from the duds? All right. We'll show you what vendors to use. We'll give you a 200+ page manual, contracts, sample forms, all the stuff that you need to be a lean, mean note buying machine when you get wrapped up. Now, yes, this is live April 18th through the 20th online via Zoom. Get signed up today. We'll send you the replays of the previous online workshop so you can start learning, start evaluating material, and get rock and rolling. And if for some reason you don't like our class, we have a 100% money back guarantee involved with it. If at the end of the first day you don't like what we talk about, you don't think it's impactful, just let me know. We'll refund back your tuition, no questions asked. We don't want your money. We want you to become a note buyer. We want you to become a lien lord. All right. Like I said, if you're tired of dealing with toilets, tenants, and trash outs, you don't want to deal with renters, then becoming a note investor is the path for you. Everybody evolves into a note investor at some point, but there are plenty of opportunities out there. There are millions of non-performing notes that you can cherry pick. No, it's not all junk. It can be small value all the way up to $1 million homes or $1 million apartments for you. So much opportunity is taking place right now in the chaotic market that we see. And who's going to come out on top? Note investors will. So take the time, get signed up today, April 18th to 20th. Go to notebuyingfordummies.com or go to our website, weclosenotes.com, and sign up for the virtual workshop there. As always, get signed up today. We run discounts all the time. The cost of tuition is you plus your partner or spouse. So get signed up today at notebuyingfordummies.com, and we'll see you at the top.